Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to my Castle of Confusion. It's the 17th of March, and I'm going to bring you another Amstrad classic called the Newzealand Story, which was based on an arcade. Now, excuse the mouse pointer in the bottom left-hand corner. I forgot to move it when I was setting up my video capture, so that's my fault. But rather than re-record it all, I thought, oh well. So, yeah, excuse that one this time round. I do apologise. But yes, Newzealand Story, based on an arcade game by the same name. And actually produced on the home computers by Ocean Software. Now you can see here it's using full use of the Amstrad's colours, but I seem to remember the specky version being a little bit smoother than this. I don't know. It's a little jerky, especially with the scrolling. I mean, you've got to take into account this was 8-bit, and it's using a lot of the colours that the Amstrad could display on screen at once, so you can't really blame it too much. I mean, it's playable and it's definitely the Newzealand Story. I think the Kiwi on the Spectrum and Amstrad actually was really, really nicely done. The C64 version of this was lovely and smooth, but the main character looked a bit odd. This is kind of the problem here with the Amstrad version, is you can't see things coming very well, and that's a little bit of a problem. And you can see the scrolling it's just a little rough, really. Your character does move slightly slower as well, which is a shame, because actually they've got the level design and everything else spot on. And that looks like we've just rescued Winnie the Pooh, but never mind. So you can see here it is a multi-load, which is a shame, and we're not actually using tape, we're using disc, so I don't know why it keeps saying that. Maybe it's just one of those things that they didn't change in the final edit. But you can see there is a bomb. I can collect that now, and I can change my arrows to bombs. The idea of the game is that you are out to rescue your friends from the walrus before he has a chance to eat them, and as you do. And I remember playing this in the arcade, Western Supermare Pier. And, you know, back when you were a kid, you think that every single game you ever see in an arcade is going to get released, but, you know, not all of them do. But they've managed to squeeze so much of the game in here, it's actually really quite impressive. Despite the scrolling is a little bit of an issue, but to be honest with you, this was literally the arcade game in your in your home. In your home, yes. Sorry, not sure why that came out like that. Never mind. Of course, it's one of the reasons I don't do scripts. You get these weird and wacky moments captured forever. But yeah, I mean they've included the balloons that you could fly on as well. You can there are balloons later on that are stronger than that one. That's like a one-hit balloon and it's done. But there are others. Those look really strange. They're supposed to be Kiwis as well, but they kind of just look like you rescued Winnie the Pooh. But yeah, they've really done a knockout job with everything on here, really. I mean, the music's absolutely gorgeous. And the sound effects there's not so many sound effects in this, but the music's absolutely fantastic. And as games go, it's fairly iconic. So let me just shut up for a minute and you can listen to that. So that is the arcade soundtrack playing for you right there through the AY chip on the Amstrad. And it's a great, great thing. And the 128K version of the Spectrum, the Specky 128K version, I should say, also had the arcade soundtrack, which was absolutely brilliant. And obviously it had colour clash, but that's not really a problem. It kind of ran a bit smoother than this one, if memory serves, due to the fact I think they've just used a lot of colours, and that's taken up a lot of the processing power and the memory. So the experience is not as smooth as you would like it to be. But, you know, considering that everything is pretty much arcade perfect, they've got all the mob types down to a T. They've got your firing arrows, that's, you know, that's all down to it. The different enemy types, the balloons that you can ride, the level design even. Everything is pretty much as you would have played it in the arcade. But you can do see that it does suffer a bit of slowdown once the screen starts getting filled up, which is a little bit of a shame, but you know, you can't criticise too badly because, like I said, 8-bit computer, it did a pretty good job, I think. Did you guys play Newzealand Story on any format? I remember the Amiga version being pretty damn close to the arcade, and the Mega Drive version as well, I think, was absolutely spot on. I like that. They've actually included the flippers, not that you can see them very well, but you can actually see that he's wearing those when he goes in the water, which is lovely. So they've a lot of attention to detail in this, I think they've purposely kept the backgrounds fairly bland so that it doesn't chew up too much more of the memory and make it even worse. But I'm going to try and play through and show you the first boss, which is a big whale. In the arcade version, the whale came down, actually swallowed you, and you sort of shot at it from the inside. But in the home versions, at least the Spectrum and the Amstrad version, you had to shoot the whale from the outside until it cracked, crumbled, and blew up into a million pieces. So I'm going to try and show you that boss, at least, so that you can have a good view. And then if you like the game, go out and have a play. I'm sure we've got plenty of Amstrad fans here, as we do Spectrum. I tend to find my people do enjoy the Spectrum games quite a lot. So give the Amstrad reviews a look as well, because they were so close together. It's just that the Amstrad could use more colours on screen at once than the Spectrum could, but essentially the games were usually ports of each other, so very rarely was a game. I think the Dizzy games, I think they were made on the Amstrad and then ported to the Spectrum, if I remember correctly. Or it could be the other way around, but I'm pretty sure I think they were coded on the Amstrad and then they were replicated on the Spectrum, and that's the way I believe it for the Dizzy games anyway. I think that is correct. But yeah, this is one of those balloons I was talking about. I've just destroyed it, but never mind. You can actually take multiple hits with that one, and this one here is metal, so you can't actually destroy it at all. You can as well hang off the bottom of them. You don't need to jump on the top all the time. You can see underneath there's a kind of a little metal ring. Well, if I manage to ditch it somehow, and then I jump up underneath it, I can actually hang off the bottom of it, which is great. So it means you're practically indestructible for anything that's firing at you from above. The whale would have been great for doing this with, but I'm just going to try and get through it. I believe this is actually going to be the level where the whale will make an appearance. It's probably going to have to load in, but it's disc, so we wouldn't have to wait too long. But yeah, the details on the Kiwi, I love Tiki's little, that's his name, Tiki the Kiwi. Here we go, boss level loading in. So yeah, I mean, here he is. They've done a really good job on this. I like the fact that the whale is so big. Now, the only thing I think is going to happen here is that once those icicles, which is what they're supposed to be, like snowflakes, once there's quite a lot of those on the screen, I think it's going to slow down quite a lot. And also your movement speed suddenly drops, so you've got to be careful on that. I can't work out if that's meant to be a big boggly eye, or whether that's like his attachment on his jaw, but either way, lol. Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good effort. My criticisms come with the sort of stuttery and that kind of breaks up the immersion of the game for me a little bit. But considering they've squeezed so much into this game from the arcade, I can't really knock it too badly, to be quite honest with you. The music's absolutely spot on. The sound effects are sort of meh, but you can't expect too much really, considering that it didn't have much memory to play with at the time. So you think how much gameplay they've got in here on such a small capacity, so well done. Anyway, that's it guys, that's Newzealand Story on the Amstrad, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.